Fidel Alejandro Castro Ruz was one of the world's greatest leaders as well as an extraordinary man. Fidel was born on the 13th of August in the year of 1926. He was the fifth of 9 children. His mother was a strict Catholic and his father was a sugarcane planter. Although Fidel was born into the poor city of Baran, Cuba, his family was quite wealthy. His father's life was a story of rags to riches. Surprisingly, he was not arrogant as a child. In fact, Fidel loved to be outside at all times. His joy of being outdoors was shared with the other sugarcane planters' children. When he was asked about his childhood in an interview, Fidel gleamed with a smile as he spoke of being free and open in the vast sugar fields. When Fidel wasn't playing in the fields, he was out getting an education. Being as wealthy as they were, Fidel's parents sent their son to the best schools in Cuba. Although he paid an equal amount as the other kids, he was bullied. Money could not hide his crude language, swearing, and lack of manners and etiquette. However, Fidel managed to excel in his academic grades as well as sports. In his later years, Fidel graduated from the University of Havana after studying law. He then was eligible to run for election as a Cuban leader. However, just before Election Day in 1952, Fulgencio Batista canceled it and pushed out the current Cuban president, Carlos Socorros, and took over the island republic. Batista was the self-appointed chief of the military and a frightening dictator. In an attempt to fight off Batista's regime, Castro led a group of about 150 men and stormed into the military barracks of Santiago de Cuba on July 26, 1953. Castro was aiming to seize arms to build a military revolution. In this attempt, many of Castro's men were killed and they failed miserably. The men who remained and didn't die were sent to prison, including Fidel. Once Batista heard of this outbreak, he planned to execute Castro as soon as he was released. However, Castro was let go after 19 months and quickly fled to the mountains of Mexico. A year or two later, Fidel returned from Mexico, but that same December, him and his men were ambushed by the Cuban military. With less than 20 men, Castro escapes to the Sierra Maestra Mountains and hides for nearly 2 years. In Cuba, citizens are growing disgusted with Batista while he imprisons and kills thousands. On December 31, 1958, Batista gathers a few of his men, gets on a plane, and leaves the country. While Castro hears about this, he takes days to arrive in Havana, and a massive celebration takes to the streets when he arrives. In 1959, Castro led an overthrow of the military dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista and became Prime Minister of Cuba that February. In 1961, the U.S. sent trained Cuban exiles to Cuba to try and overthrow Fidel's government. They failed miserably. The U.S. was doing so to prevent communism from taking hold in the Americas. Fidel, however, knew about the United States plan and was training troops in Guatemala. He captured the trained exiles quickly and held them for a year. He visited them at times, and one man recalls him having an ability of persuasion. In 1962, when the Soviet Union began to install nuclear missiles in Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis was created. The two sides finally reached an agreement. The Soviet Union would remove the missiles from Cuba as long as the U.S. agreed to never invade Cuba again. The crisis ended. Fidel also held great ties with leaders such as Nikita Khrushchev and the Pope. Castro's regime was successful in reducing illiteracy rates, stamping out racism, and improving public health. He ruled over Cuba for nearly 5 decades until handing power to his brother Raul in 2008 due to his illness. He was the first secretary of the Communist Party. Fidel became president of Cuba in December 1976 and was Prime Minister of Cuba from February of 1959 to December of 1976. Fidel was one of the world's greatest leaders, although he was considered communist.